Hi, Ann Cornick, and today we're going to be finishing our second fire on our lighthouse. Now, this is the lighthouse, the way it came out for me on the first fire. And while it looks very well done and probably pretty well completed to a lot of you, this is the final product, and I think the final product is much darker, has a lot more depth and shadow to it, especially along the lighthouse. I will show you how to create, I don't know if you can see it, but kind of a brick effect on that lighthouse, and how to put all the different shadows and things in that we need to. We have the baby blue. This is a tan, which I like on the sand as kind of a shadow. This is the old ivory, which you may not be able to find anymore, so just use regular ivory. This is Copenhagen. There's not much there, but we don't need much because we're basically going to just do the water. The last one is the rich brown. Then down below it here, I have white, warm brown, green, black, and a shading brown, which is my medium brown. It can be any color you want it to be. This, you see there's only a smidge there. That's my orange. It's South Brown. This is shining green. Now, I ran out of grass green. I like grass green. Moss green, grass green, shining green. All these different greens, they all look about the same. Look at that. If you didn't know any better, wouldn't you think that was moss? And then next to it, I had egg. So remember that if you don't have the exact color, it really doesn't matter. You don't have to have the exact color. Anything close will do. And in this case, I'm substituting shining green for regular green. You also need to sign your name on this time, if you haven't already. And I like this kind of a pen. I don't know how many of you use it, but the key is to have a nib that is good and in good condition. If your point is flat or non-existent, then you don't want it. So keep that in mind. You want a real nice point on your pen. Okay, we're going to get started. One of the things on this fire that I will finish it off with is the edge. I wanted to match these plates that I did last year, and they have, this is baby blue, and this is baby blue, but just one fire. I just wanted something to give it a little bit of something. So. All right, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm also going to use, of course, my filbert, because I use it for the sky. I'm going to start with my baby blue, just a full load, and just start going around and adding the blue. The reason I do the blue first is because I want to do the background. I want to get behind my shrubbery and make sure that it's the same color blue as everything else. So I'm going back there and getting the color in. And then I have to decide where I've left my clouds. And, okay, doing this. And just do it real quick. Now, this is a second coat. I said that my border will be a single coat of baby blue, and it will be. So that's why I'm putting the second coat on here. I want the plate to be a darker color, so that it differentiates itself from the border. I don't want it to match the border. I don't like this thing here, so I'm just going to get rid of it. There we go. That's the other thing. You can correct a lot of things that you don't like when you're painting your second fire. And I'm turning this so I can get along the side of the lighthouse without necessarily getting my colors in the lighthouse. You want the blue behind this. You don't necessarily want you want it to stay that color, but when you put the black over it, it'll be fine. And I brought the blue down along the side just because I think it's kind of cool. I'm breaking up these clouds. I think they're a little too intense. So this is your final chance to make any changes that you want to make to anything you don't like. So if you don't like your clouds, you can completely cover them over. If you like them, you can paint around them and exaggerate them. But whatever you do, make sure that you kind of, even though you're doing a fluffy kind of background, I'm using C strokes to put in my sky. I do go through with my brush and hold the very tip of it and just do a little bit of shading there. Okay. Yeah, I kind of like that. Alrighty, I'm going to clean my brush. We're going to come down now and do the sand. My sand, compared to the second fire of the sand here, this is a lot darker than this is. So I want to make sure, oh here, I'll hold it up a little higher. I want to make sure that that they both look the same. So I keep the second plate in front of me. Now I'm making a set of 4. So that's the reason for this. And I'm using my old ivory and I'm going in. I'm going to mix a little egg with it. I think it adds a little color to the sand and makes it a little more pleasing to the eye. Okay, and I'm going over things because it doesn't matter at this point if I go over things. Okay, now I'm going to take my little Q-tip and I'm going to start wiping out a little of the color that got where it shouldn't be here. Okay, and a lot of these plants here have a little too much color. See how much color there is on those? You can't really tell, but you can when you kind of wipe it out and go over it like this. You don't have to use a Q-tip with a point. I like the points because they do a better job for me. And here, if I got any of that color on here, I'm just taking it off. Okay. Now we're going to take some tan and we're going to add a little shadow. We want this to be a hill, kind of a path. And so I'm using the tan, which is actually a little bit darker than the ivory, to create that path. I also want a little bit of tan back in here. Probably going to put almost a brown in there eventually, but just to see and just to get some of my shading in. It's important if you have, put a little shading, oops, that's a little too much. Put a little shading there and there. It's important if you have sand and things to really try to get the color in. You know, I'm looking at this color, this blue, and to me it's a little bit, the sky is a little bit too blue. So I'm just going to tap it a little. See, it'll take a little of that blue off. There, I think that's a little better. And I'm going to go in and just put in a little bit of that's kind of the line out there. And then I'm going to make my, in between my waves, a little bit darker. So I'm using Copenhagen, and I'm just going in. Now, if you're a beginner, this is a very simple picture to paint. You want to darken some of your colors like this. I really want to darken that one. If you can't get your paint to get dark enough, and mine gets in kind of a, here we are. See, it as I push into it, it gets a little yucky. So I'm kind of smearing it out. And then I will take my brush and go like this and wiggle it and pull it down. And that will give me a super dark color. Now, this is going to be darker than I want, but see? It's a super dark color. There we go. Okay, now the other thing with your waves is you can take your pointed guy here and kind of, remember that they're big at one spot and then they kind of trail off. Yep, I need a little more blue. right here. And I think I'll just put blue in there. Maybe a little blue right there. Okay. In fact, I don't know if I want waves that close to the shore. I might just get rid of them. So see, you can do whatever you need to do. Okay. Okay, so those are my waves. Now, if I'm not happy with them, or I think they need a little boost, you can take your pointer and you can put it in a little white and just dab a little. It'll add a little texture. And it'll also whiten those for you. But don't leave, like there I had a bump. Don't leave a bump on there. So if you need to, you can put white in. Or you can just take this and wipe out. And sometimes that works. But if you don't have white underneath it, it won't work. So you just have to decide how you're going to create those waves. Those are a couple of ways you can do it. Okay, now we're going to go up here and add a little bit of, I've got a shading brown and a little rich brown. And I'm actually going to make, oops, it's a little tight. I'm going to make that hill. No, I do want it a little darker than that though. Dark. Come here. At the base. I don't know if you've ever noticed, and I will do it here, but I'm making these kind of scraggly because here in Michigan, we have a lot of dunes. And when I put this color on like that, it reminds me that there are roots that stick out. And I'm going to put a little color over in here too. On the sand, okay. Have you been to Michigan? Have you seen our dunes? Our dunes are gorgeous. They're everywhere. Now I'm going to take my scroller and I'm going to roll it around in my rich brown. I'm going to turn this upside down because it'll be easier for you to see. And I'm just going to start, oops, that's a little too thick. Love these Q-tips. They push, push, push to get the color back. There we go. And I'm just going to skip along. These are the little trees. We have in Michigan very scraggly trees. This is a Michigan lighthouse. That's why I'm talking about Michigan, if you're wondering. And this is pretty typical of the kind of growth that we see in Michigan. It's very sparse because it doesn't get a good handle on the dirt, and very windblown, kind of all the same direction, coming over the same way. And then, oh, let me do this here. And then down here, I'm going to put some roots that come out, because that is not uncommon. And let me just adjust that there. Okay. And then if I want a little path here, I'm going to have to wipe out a little more and create a little path. And I think I'll put a little dark on this side here. Kind of like there's a little path going up there. Alrighty. Now, I'm going to paint the lighthouse next. The reason I'm painting the lighthouse next, and then I'll come back and do all the green, is because there's green along the bottom here. And I want to make sure that I have the lighthouse painted before I do it. And I'm also going to show you how to create bricks. So I'm going to take this is I think it's a 3/4 inch. Oh, it's really hard to see. brush. And I like using this brush, and I'll tell you why. When you go sideways with it, you get a really nice, almost a shadowy kind of build to it. So if you take it, this is ivory that I have it in, and you just dab it down the side, and then just start pulling it back in uneven amounts. Get there. Okay. So you don't want it like, you want it to be choppy. And I know that's like everybody's going, what? Yeah, you do. You want it to be choppy. Then without cleaning your brush, and I have another paint here that's, where is my knife? Oh, here it is. I have another paint that's kind of all gooky, and I'm just going to smear it a little so I can get into it. Okay. So, see, I smeared this up so I can get into it now. And I'm going to take and use that same brush without going into the cleaning my brush, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to take it and go, am I in there? Yeah, there I am. And wiggle down. I learned that when I was in Canada. Lauren McLaren told us to wiggle. And it really does load more paint on your brush. So if you're looking, you say, oh my God, I can never get enough paint on my brush. If you want it to be dark, use that little wiggle. That little wiggle really helps. And then pull the color up the side. Try to do it evenly. I'm not doing it really evenly, but there we go. And then make it a little patchy because it's brick. Brick is going to be okay. And then you're going to take this and go down this side just to give you, do it real lightly, right on the end, just to give you a little separation. Now, I'm pretty happy with that. Now the secret of the brick. Oh, I think I want a little more here at the bottom. Hang on. I think I want a little more here. Okay. Okay, good. You're going to take pointed Q-tip, and you're going to start at the top. And I don't know if you can see this. Maybe I should start at the bottom. You're going to put a row and then little bricks in between. Use the side. See where it's dark there? Here, you want them to be straight. Can you see what I've done there? You're creating little bricks. Change the edge. That's why you wanted to put it on dark. Now, you can go into your orange a little and pull bricks over to this side. I'm actually taking the Q-tip, putting it in the orange, and going over to this side. See how that creates the look of bricks? Okay, and then I'm wiping out down here. So on the orange side, you wipe out. On the other side, you just dip it in your paint and add a little. And that gives you a really nice, here, these two should not be right in the same, there. That gives you a really nice look of bricks on that tower, and it's so simple to do. And it's just using a Q-tip. Okay, now I'm going to go to my scroller, go to my black, roll my scroller, and this is, let me show you what I mean by that. Here's the black. I'm just rolling the scroller in the black. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to turn this upside down. Always best to paint towards yourself. And I'm going to start doing these. Oops. Hang on, I got off center here. You can order these Q-tips online through Amazon. And they're wonderful. Now, don't go over things if you don't need to. Here I need to, because I need to bring this up to touch the top. See how I didn't quite get it up to touch the top? Okay, now here I made a little outside the line thing, so there. There, okay. Alrighty, and then the last thing I do are the windows, because some of them need a little help. This one's pretty good. I'm only doing where I need it. This is second fire. Anytime you're painting, you only do where you need the help. So there's that done. Now I'm going to stick with the same brush. I'm going to pull, just need there. Okay. And I'm going into probably warm brown green and just kind of swirling things around. And I'm going to go down here and start pulling out little grass down here. Not a lot. You don't need to do a lot. Just a little. Always pull towards yourself. And if you don't like the way they look, there are other options. I'm going to make this a little greener down in here. There we go. What are the options? You get your Q-tip out and you go back. See how I did that? There you go. Okay, and now the last green is going to be for the trees, and I'm going back to my warm brown green. You notice I'm putting, if you can see, I'm putting kind of a half circle on the bottom of it, like a C on the bottom of the leaves that I've already done, so that it just helps them stand out a little. Gives them a little form. Decide where your light is coming from. This is a very, very simple way to do this. And if you've already got some green there, it's going to help. Now these, I think, need to be a little more elongated. Oh, not quite that elongated. No. Let's get this guy off of there. Okay. That's pretty much the whole lighthouse. I'm going back to this brush, my filbert, and I'm just going to make sure it's clean because I'm going to do the border. The border is very simple to do. I'm just going to take the blue, put it around, and start pulling. Okay, let's get more color up here. And we'll just keep whipping it out. Now I try not to pat it if I don't have to with a sponge or anything to make it even, mainly because while we'll make it even, a lot of times I find that it removes more paint than is worth, and then I have to do another fire. So if I can get the paint dark enough on this fire, and I really don't want it real dark, you notice I'm going side to side up there to try to blend it into the background. That's what I'll do, because I really don't want it super dark. But I also don't want it too light so that I have to go back and do it again. I mean, save yourself a step if you can. Okay, a little more oil. Real simple finish. And let it go right up into the sky. The sky has 2 coats, so it should stand out on its own. This will only be 1 coat. Try to use long strokes, light strokes, and then if you have a turntable, go back and do like I'm doing, feather all the way around to make sure that you get those nice even strokes in. All the way around. Try to hold your hand the same distance, keeping the same pressure on it. Okay, now I'm just taking a little blue, like up in here. I think it needs a little more of the darker blue on that. Okay, and maybe right here could use a little bit more. Okay. Oh, there. Oh. Okay. Then I take another, you guessed it, Q-tip. And I just try to keep the, oh, that's not helpful. Alrighty. And then down here where I maybe took a little of the color off, too much color, I add a little ivory and just go side to side. Okay, this is where I'm at. It will always look a lot darker when you paint it. So what I typically do, if I like the way I painted it, I take a picture now before I put it in the kiln. And then when I get it out of the kiln, it's usually a little lighter. And you can decide, do you want to go that darker or not?